हेलो गाइस, वेलकम बैक टू द चैनल। आई होप आप सब लोग ठीक होंगे। सो दिस इज़ अ रिवाइवल ऑफ आर नो दाई एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट सीरीज and today we are starting with Karin Kapadia. She is the most contemporary anthropologist that we study in our syllabus in terms of Indian anthropology, especially caste and class studies and gender studies. And for the matter of fact, if I recall, her recent study was during pandemic that she has done. Okay, something related to pandemic and COVID. And there are some papers that she had submitted in 2021, 2019, etc. also. So in that way, she is the most contemporary. And अगर आप उनका नाम लिखते हैं आपके answers में, so you will get that edge in your answers, right? So, without further ado, let's get started with Karin Kapadia. Her most famous work is Shiva and Her Sisters. This is a rural South Indian study. So, in rural studies or village studies of 5.1, you can mention about this, right? And this book was written in 1995. So, this is one book that she has written completely by herself. There are some other books that we are going to discuss. लेकिन उसमें जो है she has co-authored or co-edited that book, right? But this is her book by herself. So just remember this: Shiva and Her Sisters, Gender, Caste and Class in Rural South India. Also, don't forget to write her name when a question comes on female Indian anthropologist, because she has contributed a lot to the Indian studies. Now, coming to this particular book, this is a feministic study. So, feminism, if a question on such theory comes, like feministic theory of anthropology, you can mention this work. Also, in 2019, there was a question on phenomenology, right? So, this is what the study reflects. This study of Karin Kapadia is a phenomenological study, a reflective analysis of rural South India, right? And phenomenological study of what particularly? It is about the untouchable Tamil women, okay, who and their contribution to agricultural labor. Okay, so even in your unit 3 of paper 1, that is economic systems, over there also you can mention, and there are a lot of subtopics that you can mention from this book. So I'll be quoting each of it, and you make a note of those subtopics that you can include with this particular ethnological study. So this is for the research and method unit, that is 8th unit, where you can quote her study as a feministic study and also as a phenomenological study. Now, coming to the details of the book, this ethnography talks about untouchable castes. Okay, so the major focus of this book is about the untouchable castes. So in caste system you can mention this. Also, it rejects false consciousness, right? For example, the women that Karin Kapadia studies are the Pallar tribe women. So Pallar tribe women know, they are very well conscious about the fact that they are being oppressed in various fields, be it agricultural labor or other caste based occupation. The next point that you can mention or relate to is that the gender identities in such societies, in such rural societies, they are interlinked with the caste and class both. Okay, so she is trying to interlink the three aspects of gender, caste and class. So whenever caste studies come, like when you write answers in your 3.1 unit of paper 2, over there you can mention the another aspect of gender related to caste and class and quote this book as an example. Okay, next we have a question on impact of urbanization. So this book as well talks about that. It talks about the impact or the effect of urbanization on traditional values of the community. Which community? Majorly the Pallar community, right? You can make a note of this as well. If you have attended my Must series, that is a school of thought, the anthropological theories, I've mentioned how I have taught individual anthropologist of world. So for example, Margaret Mead or Ruth Benedict, I have given their contributions related to their books. Similarly, we are going to deal with Indian anthropologist in our YouTube series in the same way. Like we are dealing with Karin Kapadia and her book Shiva and Sisters, and what all aspects that she tries to reflect upon in this book we are going to use it in multiple areas of our syllabus. Okay, so one video can help you at at various levels of your syllabus, right? Different places you can use one study itself. The third aspect that Karin Kapadia demonstrates in this particular book is about the preferential marriage. So there is caste based preference, caste based preferential marriage. So when it comes to rules of marriage, you can quote this particular book showing that there is caste based preferential marriage. For example, the lower caste, they will prefer mother's brother's son, okay, and while Brahmins or the upper caste, they will prefer father's sister's daughter. Okay, so these kind of preferential marriages occur in the lower and upper caste. So this is what you can quote. Next, when it comes to the inheritance part, so how what kind of a lineage that they follow, it is in the upper caste, it is completely patrilineal. Okay, in the upper caste it is patrilineal, while in the lower caste it is both, it is bilateral. For example, land is patrilineal, but women are brought from the female side. Okay, so females are brought from the matrilineal part and the land is distributed in the patrilineal manner. Next, you can talk about this in your rites of passage, right? So the female puberty rites of the Pallar tribe are mentioned, and also when it comes to marriage, it is not the astrological horoscope that they match, but they match the menstrual horoscope. Okay, so if you know about Nadi dosh and etc., based on which you determine whether you can conceive kids or not in the traditional horoscope or astrological aspect. Here it is about the menstrual horoscope. And especially among the lower castes, they consider the first menstrual cycle that appears, they consider it to be a bio-spiritual event. So this you can quote even in your unit 11 of paper 1, where you talk about menopause, menstruation, etc., menarche, etc., right? So you can quote the socio-cultural aspect of a physical, and in physical anthropology you can quote a socio-cultural aspect. This is what will bring extra marks in your paper, right? And finally, we talk about the shift or the change from close kin marriage to non kin marriage. So this also you can add in the urbanization impact. It shows about the change aspect. So all these points you can include in your paper 2 as well, paper 1. So one book you have got close to 6 points. So just quickly recapping. For the unit 8, the research method, you can quote this study in the feministic aspect and as well in the phenomenology study. Next, talking about the false consciousness that the Pallar women are aware that they are being exploited, you can quote it in your unit 3 of paper 2. Similarly, impact of urbanization, you can quote it in your paper 2. It is a direct question. Preferential marriage, or be it close kin marriage to non kin marriage, you can quote it both in your paper 1 in your marriage section and also in the change aspect, that how things are changing. Okay, what is the change in the institution of marriage, etc. So such questions. Talking about the inheritance part, which is your economic organization in paper 1, over there you can quote this, that ye patrilineal hai ya matrilineal hai, etc. Even in the kinship aspect you can quote it. Talking about the puberty rites, you can quote it in your rites of passage, paper 1 unit 5. And the menstrual horoscope, you can quote it both in your unit 11 as a physical aspect part, including the socio-cultural element in it, and also as a part in your marriage part also, that menstrual horoscope is used for marriage purpose. Now coming to the next book that she has written, and this is the even more contemporary work of hers in 2017. It was co-edited by S. Anandi also, but you can quote it in Karin Kapadia's contribution as well. So this book is named as Dalit Women, Vanguard of an Alternative Politics in India. Now what this book helps us helps us in using it in our syllabus is, it talks about the how the Dalits are challenging the naturalization of caste difference. So you can quote it in the changes that are happening or future of caste system. So that is where you can quote this particular aspect, which is paper 2 unit 3. Next, talking about, it talks about how the even despite the urbanization that is happening, and we are assuming that the caste is getting diluted, but it is not, because the urban Dalit men are asserting patriarchy, and in a way they are also asserting the caste based system and showing authority over the Dalit women. And this book also shows that how the Dalit women are trying to challenge this particular assertive patriarchy, or the new kind of patriarchy that is emerging, not the old kind, but there are new elements of patriarchy. So You can quote about the new patriarchy also, and write it in your sociocultural anthropology aspect here. And you can quote this beautiful phrase, which is dalitization of patriarchy. So in patriarchy you got two new terms, which is new patriarchy and dalitization of patriarchy, and how the Dalit women are trying to challenge it. Next, talking about the counter hegemonic identity movement. So this is nothing but the Dalit conversion movement, okay, and how such conversions, especially in Chennai, they are being determined by the resistance of both the gender and the patriarchal dominant groups. Okay, so in a way, these Dalit conversions are being determined by the domination of gender and patriarchy. Next, it also talks about the politics, which is there in the title itself. It talks about the caste politics. So politicization of caste or casteization of politics is where you can quote this book. Also the Ambedkar feminism. Now these points you can also quote in your society or social justice, right, in your GS papers also. So these are very catchy words that you can use, especially Dalitization of patriarchy, etc. So Ambedkar feminism is nothing but the Dalit feminism. Okay, so this is what you can quote. Then it also talks about the marginalization of Dalits, especially in socio-economic and political aspects. So you can quote this book over there. See, you don't have to go into the detail that what exactly the anthropologist has mentioned. Even if you quote the book and tell that ye points isme cover hue hain, that will do your job. It will fetch you that extra mark. Next, Karin Kapadia has also come up with a very interesting term, which is marrying money. So you here you don't marry money like in ghost marriages you marry ghost and etc. The aspect and this also you can quote in the marriage aspect, ki how the terms of marriages or the occurrence of marriage is changing, कि जो upper caste है it is looking for educated women, be it even of the lower caste. And why is it doing so? To help the children face the competitive world. For example, that the women are educated women are wanted in marriage, okay, that is for sure, but not to contribute in the labor market, but to act as a catalyst for the next generation of their family, the upper caste family, जिसमें उन औरतों को, उन educated औरतों को ब्याह कर लाया जाता है, तो उनके बच्चों को आपको जो है एजुकेशन देने के लिए एंड ब्रिंगिंग देम और फैसिलिटेटिंग अ मोबिलिटी, कास्ट मोबिलिटी और बीट एनी काइंड ऑफ मोबिलिटी, फैसिलिटेटिंग दैट. सो उसको फैसिलिटेट करने के लिए जो कैटलिस्ट के रूप में एजुकेटेड वुमेन को प्रेफरेंस दिया जा रहा है. सो दिस इज व्हाट यू कैन कोट एंड दिस इज समथिंग वेरी यूनिक दैट यू कैन कोट इन योर आंसर. And last but not the least, this is not what something that Karin Kapadia has given, but it is related to the above point, that is the dalitization of patriarchy, etc. So उसमें आप शर्मिला रेगे, she is also a sociologist, so उनका contribution या उनके words आप इसमें quote कर सकते हैं. She talks about the masculinization of Dalithood and Savarnization of womanhood. Okay, so you can quote this phrase as it is, and it talks about the exclusion of how Dalit women are getting excluded. So you can quote this even when you talk about the status of Dalit women. Okay, such questions अगर वैसे भी आए तो वहाँ पर भी आप इन चीज़ों को quote कर सकते हैं. So this is an excellent. So Karin Kapadia's contribution and especially these two books are enough for you to quote at major levels, especially in the Indian anthropology aspect, and several other socio-cultural, even in the physical anthropology, as I've already suggested. Now this is another of her book, which is The Violence of Development, The Politics of Identity, Gender and Social Inequalities in India. So this is a 2002 edition book, and as the title suggests, it talks about the displacement development. So again, this is a book that you can quote at various places in your Indian anthropology, tribal displacement, etc. And there are two books of the 20th century, which is Rural Labor Relations in India and The Worlds of Indian Industrial Labor. So this also talks about the labor aspect, which you can quote in your economic organization or the economic aspects of tribes or rural studies, etc. So वहाँ पर इन दोनों books को quote कर सकते हैं. You don't mandatorily have to do it, but if it is there in back of your mind, you can definitely use it. So yeah, this was about Karin Kapadia. Please write down in the comments कि किस तरह का ये वीडियो लगा and was it useful to you. ऑल्सो मैंशन और कौन से आपको इंडियन एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट के बारे में वीडियो चाहिए. सो आई विल ट्राई टू मेक इट. And also comment whether you like the previous format of me being visible and talking to you about the anthropologist, or the written format like this, and me being invisible is fine. Okay, so comment these things below, and also like, share, subscribe the channel, and share it with as many people as you can, because the larger the reach, the more motivation I get to make such videos for all of you all. And such content I don't think anybody else will provide you with. Okay, and agar provide bhi kiya, to it will be a long PDF from which you have to uh, do that. But this 15 minutes video, if you were getting 15 points for 15 different places where you can use, I think this is a big deal, like good deal that you're getting. So please try to share this video with as many as people as you can, and also comment below any suggestions and requests of next upcoming videos that you want from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next. Thank you.